This is probably the most decadent chocolate cake I've ever tasted. Come on, let's get started.
Todo queda sabroso.
So I'm declaring the month of February chocolate month. This chocolate cake hails from Peru. It's a simple recipe, but it's made with non-traditional ingredients. But trust me, it's going to be delicious. Did you know that chocolate's history started out in Latin America around 1000 BC? The first people to use chocolate were the Mayans of Belize, or dating back even further, the Olmecs of southern Mexico. Today, chocolate is used all around the world as sweet confections or in savory applications. So there's a couple of things that I like to do before I actually start the cake. One is to preheat the oven. So for this recipe, we're going to set the oven at 350, and then we're going to prepare our cake pan. Today we're using a 9-inch cake pan, and I like to grease and line the bottom with parchment paper. But isn't it difficult to take a square piece of parchment paper and try to fit it to a round cake pan? Let me show you a little trick. So I'm going to flip my cake pan over. Then I'm going to take this parchment paper and I'm going to fold it in half and then fold it in half again. Then I'm going to fold it into a triangle, just like that. Then I'm going to fold it into a triangle again, just like that. And then maybe one more time until we have a triangle that's about 1 inch wide. Then from the center of the cake pan to the edge is where I'm going to measure and cut that parchment so that I have a perfect circle that'll fit in my cake pan. Okay, so I have my pan and I'm just going to place some neutral oil like vegetable or canola oil into the pan, and make sure you brush it against the sides because this cake will rise. Then we're going to take our parchment paper that we cut and fit it to the bottom of that pan. Now our pan is ready. Our oven is preheated. Let's start the cake batter. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take 2 cups of milk, and to that we're going to add a tablespoon of white vinegar. I'm going to stir that around and then set that aside. Okay, so here I have a large bowl with 3 cups of all-purpose flour. To that, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. I have 1 teaspoon of salt, and I'm also going to add a 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. Then I'm just going to mix those dry ingredients together. To the dry mixture, I'm going to add the milk with that 1 tablespoon of vinegar. I'm also going to add 1/2 cup of neutral oil, whether vegetable or canola. I'm using canola. Then we're going to whisk that around to incorporate the milk and the oil. It's at this point where I'm going to add 3 eggs. I'm going to mix that. If you want to beat the eggs beforehand, you can. And then lastly, I'm going to add 2 cups of granulated sugar, as well as a teaspoon of vanilla. Give that one final mix. Okay, and there we have our chocolate cake mixture. Now we're going to pour that batter into the prepared cake pan, and you want to come up 3/4 up the pan. What I like to do is just tap it a couple times to release any air bubbles, and then we're going to place this in that 350-degree oven for about 1 hour, or until a toothpick comes out clean. Okay, we're going to start the fudge frosting, and here I have about 3 tablespoons of hot water, and I need that to kind of mix this cocoa powder so that it incorporates into the other ingredients well. I'm just going to stir it around. The rest of the ingredients are simple. We have 2 cans of evaporated milk, 2 cans of sweetened condensed milk, and then we're also going to add some vanilla. We're going to cook this until it's thick and spreadable. Then we're going to incorporate 2 tablespoons of butter and stir until it's thoroughly combined. Then we're going to refrigerate the sauce for about 2 hours. Okay, so here I have my cake that's cooled, well, cool enough to touch, so I can take it out of the pan and set it on this wire rack. So I'm just going to invert it. And then you just take that parchment paper and just peel it back. Flip it over one more time. And now we're just going to let this rest, and then we'll cut it into sections. Okay, so while my cake is cooling, I'm going to do a simple syrup, which is simply 1 cup of water that goes into a saucepan, as well as 1 cup of panela sugar. So panela is a cane sugar, and it is used in a lot of Latin desserts and recipes. And this is going to make this simple syrup to have that caramel-like essence. And so we're going to add 1/2 cup of that panela sugar. And then I'm also adding a teaspoon of espresso. You can use whatever coffee you like. Because I'm using this espresso, I'm going to have to strain it afterwards. Then we're going to take this mixture and we're going to cook it until it becomes a syrup, about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so our cake is nice and cooled. If you notice, I put a couple toothpicks and I spaced them out so that I can cut this into 3 layers. So I'm using that toothpick as a guide. And I'm just going to cut all the way around. It's real helpful to have one of these rotating cake stands. And then I'm going to trim the top just so that it's even. Okay, so I'm going to take that bottom layer and I'm going to put it on my cake stand. Then I'm going to take that simple syrup, that coffee simple syrup that's been sweetened with the panela, and I'm just going to soak or brush on that simple syrup onto the cake. Just like that. Okay, now we're going to place some of that chocolate sauce onto our cake, and we're simply going to spread it around. Add a little bit more. And we're going to add that second piece right on top. Again, brushing it with the coffee simple syrup. I'm going to add more of that chocolate sauce. And then the final layer. And there you have it. Rich, decadent, delicious. Torta de chocolate. Sabroso.